Hello, I'm Rebecca of Pocket Full of Posies, and today I am making a shirtwaist dress for Shirtwaist September, which is a fun challenge that was put together by Ashley Main Makes and Serena, and I'm excited to get started. I'm using a free pattern from Mood, the Rosalie shirt dress. I'm excited to get started, and of course, because it's a free pattern, I'm sure it's going to have some issues with fit, but I'm ready to get going. I've got my Halloween fabric ready to go. And so without further ado, let's get to it. Here we go. We are teaching lessons today on Zoom because we have Hurricane Francine coming into Louisiana. And I'm hoping it's not going to get too bad, but we decided to go ahead and do lessons on Zoom today. So I'm going to get started getting my pattern taped together while I'm waiting for my students to show up. And I wanted to go over the measurements for this pattern if you want to use this. One thing I have found with Mood patterns is that they have a lot of ease. So if you're looking at this, you want to pay attention to, of course, the measurements is what you usually use to find what size you want, but then also you want to take a look at the finished garment measurements, because so based on my own personal measurements, I am actually, like, my waist is actually in 32 and my bust is in 28. But then if I look at the finished garments, I am, like, look at the waist for the size 26, 56 and 3/4 inches. Now, this is a shirt waist dress, so it's going to have a decent amount of ease, but the bust measurement is almost 3 inches bigger than my bust measurement for the size 26. However, I think I could do actually the size 24 just based on measurements, but it would be a little tighter fitting. It would have a little bit of ease in the waist, not much in the bust. But so I think I'm going to go ahead and cut out the size 26 because I think that is enough ease. I don't think I need to have a 60-inch bust and a 58-inch waist in the size 28. But if I just went with, you know, even if I split the difference between 28 and 32 and went with 30, that would be way too much ease. I mean, it's 70 inches in the hip too. So I think I'm going to go with the 26 and get that cut out. So just be aware of that. Okay, I got my pattern all taped together, and now I have to cut it out. Waiting on students. I've had a lot of no-shows today, so I got the whole pattern taped together. Yay! Time to get started on my, well, I guess technically I have started, but my shirtwaist September dress, which I'm making for October. Alright, my fabric is washed. I need to iron it, but I need to lay the pattern out on it anyway to make sure I have enough fabric. I'm sure I do, but I always worry because, you know, with fancy dresses, you know, taffeta is 50 inches wide or whatever, and I don't think this is, but let's get it all laid out. Alright, I'm just checking. And I will definitely iron it before I cut out the actual pieces. It's just barely not enough, so I might just go with it. That piece, ooh, that's quite a bit missing. I think I am going to need to, at least for the back piece, cut it out single without a fold and have a seam up the back because I don't have enough width let's do this. Well, let's iron it first. I just caught myself about to make a huge mistake doing the thing I said I had to make sure I didn't do. They need to be, this is here, cut 2, mirrored pair, or cut 1 on fold, right? So mirrored pair means that they have to be facing different directions. Whew, that was almost a disaster. Okay, I am getting everything cut out for my dress, and I'm pretty much done. I only have the pocket left and the front placket, which I forgot about. And I don't have enough fabric left, or enough length of fabric left to do that. So I think I'm just going to do the front placket out of just have some, you know, cream colored cotton. It's not exactly, you know, it's not the same color. This is more of a tan, but I don't think I have any tan. I did at one point, but I think I used it all. So I'm just going to do that for the placket, and it's not going to show because the placket's on the inside. So that is what I'm going to have to do for my placket. Okie dokie, we are getting started with putting the Rosalie shirt dress together. Now, I have put the fusible interfacing on my collar pieces. This might take a second and some caffeine. Okay. I'm going to sew the collar pieces together and sew around the edges, leaving the bottom open, and then I will figure out the collar stand. I actually completely ran out of fabric, so I had to cut one of my collar stands out of just some cream colored fabric. So I think I'm going to use that side. I use this side for the underside of the collar that won't be seen, as opposed to the inside. But yeah. Alright, let's sew. Alright, so we're going to turn this out. I'm going to clip my corners. Got my collar. I was a little confused about the collar stand, but I think I know what I'm supposed to do here. With these free patterns, we don't get super full or clear instructions. I'm not entirely sure, because we're gonna layer this. We're gonna have these, you know, one on the bottom, one on the top, as far as the collar stands go, and we sew it here, but it never says anywhere to attach these side pieces of the stand together. So I'm a little confused about that. So I guess we'll see how it goes. Big thanks to my monthly supporters. I really appreciate you. So one thing I'm a little concerned about, not super concerned, but a little concerned that my plackets, of course, do not match the dress. So I was thinking for the placket that goes underneath, you know, where the buttons are, I think it's fine to have this strip underneath. I mean, you know, if it kind of gapes open, you'll be able to see that underneath. But I don't know that I want to have a visible, that different placket on the front, like all down the whole front of the dress. So in order to not have that, though, I would need to completely, you know, turn that placket inward completely, and then I lose a little width. So, and that might also mess up the neckline. I'm feeling a little uninspired at the moment. So like, I just have this feeling of this project's going to be a disaster, and I don't think that it is going to be a disaster. I'm just feeling that at this moment. So yeah, guess we'll see. I think maybe I will pin it all together and just test the fit just to see, and then go from there. And if I have to have a cream colored strip down the front of my dress, so be it. I just don't really want to. I just didn't have enough fabric. So okay, to get started with the pockets, I'm gonna have a pocket on each side. Got my mirrored pocket pieces. I've got my side seams, and I'm going to right sides together. I'm going to match the marks. I'm going to pin that, and then I'm going to sew. I'm going to do that for both sides here. When we're sewing the pocket on, we want to make sure that we are leaving the seam allowance free for when, so that we can attach the pockets together. So I'm going to stop sewing about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so now we're going to sew our pockets together around the pocket. Keep the side seam out of your way. That's why we left that seam allowance for the pocket when we were sewing them on. So we're just going to go all the way around there. And I just pinked my edges. You should probably zigzag or overlock if you have a serger. And especially if you're going to be washing it a lot, you don't want it to be fraying. So I will probably do a zigzag stitch on top of my pinked edges as well. All right, now that our pockets are secured, we are going to just sew up the side seams. Those marks that we made before on our pocket, that is where we don't sew past. We want to do the same thing. We don't want to sew past that mark. That is our pocket opening. So I've decided that I'm going to do my front placket, the under lap placket. So on the one on the left, I'm going to do it as intended. And I'm just going to sew that down, and then the placket on the right side I'm going to turn completely under so that none of the white or none of the cream is showing. I think that will be fine. It's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna make any difference really fit wise. I mean, it's like an inch difference, and I still have enough ease that I don't need that extra inch. So that is what my plan is. I also am most likely not going to do buttons all the way down this dress, because that's a lot of buttonholes, and I hate buttonholes. Alright, now I'm going to get my collar sewn on. Now that the collar is on, I'm going to turn the inner collar stand down so that we're covering all of those raw seam allowances. You could sew it by hand easily. You could also sew it on the machine just as easily, or perhaps more easily. Alright, on to sleeves. I folded it up and pressed the seam allowance to the inside. I'm just going to stitch that real quick on both sleeves, and then once I do that, I'm going to sew my sleeve seam together, and then they get inserted into the dress. It is time for buttonholes, which I absolutely hate, but we're gonna do them. Maybe 10. I'm gonna try it on and see. I'm gonna try it on and see where those buttonholes are gonna end up. Okay, I tried it on, and I'm not going to do a button up at the very top of the neckline because I'm never going to button it all the way up my neck. That's just not gonna happen. So I'm gonna start, let's see, I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna do 7 buttons, because I pinned it together. I pinned it together at the waist, and I had plenty of room to take it on and off, just having this top part open. So I actually may not even do this button here. So I'll just have it sewn together all the way down the front, and then to here where this pin is, and then I will have my buttons just on the bodice part. My sewing machine does a buttonhole stitch, but I lost the foot for it. Honestly, I have never been able to get it to do a successful buttonhole. So I think I'm going to just use a zigzag stitch for the buttonholes. So I need to measure my button and make my buttonhole just a little bit bigger than the button. And I could do it by hand, Honestly, it wouldn't take me that long to do 6 buttons by hand, but I'm going to try to do it on the machine. Alright, all I have left to do is to sew down my center seam past the buttons, so about from the waist down. I'm going to sew that, and then I'm going to sew it on this side so it looks like it's meant to be, and then once I get to this section where the buttons are, I'm just going to unbutton the dress, and then I'm going to just sew a close edge to the edge, just so it looks uniform all the way down. Then after that, it's just hemming, and it's done. So, what do you think of the shirtwaist dress? What do you think of free patterns from Mood? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't, and if you'd like to be notified whenever I upload, you can hit that little bell icon. To support the channel further, I have a Ko-fi account, and that is linked down below. Be sure to follow the hashtag #ShirtwaistSeptember on Instagram and here on YouTube, and support other content creators who are making shirtwaist dresses this September. Again, thank you so much, and I will see you on our next sewing adventure. Bye!